Welcome back, my gorgeous, good looking friends. We're picking right back up in finishing the review of episode number 2. In my last video, we left off with this psychotic woman and her mother turning this supposed love story into a race baiting, gaslighting feature film on racism. You really see and feel how toxic and negative Meghan and Harry really are. What they're doing here is fueled by bitterness and pettiness because they didn't get what they want. I do believe that Doria went through some things. I don't believe the life might have been so fair to her as she was growing up. I mean, we don't know very much, but I can only imagine she grew up in a time where segregation did still exist. And I don't think that that should be ignored.
My children are mixed race, and I'm really proud of that.
I guess I struggle with understanding why this is such a big deal. Like, what exactly is he proud of? Does Archie have special superhuman powers that we're not aware of? Does Archie have distinct features that identifies him or classifies him in a certain race? He's living in America and he's being treated like every other American kid, which I don't understand why it even matters in today's world that you are so focused on the color of people's skin. The racism that I see is this unconscious bias that now Harry and Meghan and all those woke followers have of white people. It's almost like they're ashamed to admit that they're white as well. If they're so focused on race, then why are they living like white people? If Harry's so proud that his children are biracial, which I'm sure Meghan hates hearing that, and it's so painfully obvious that Meghan resents being half black, but she exploits it when it's beneficial to her. How does she identify with her black roots? Aside from wheeling out her mom when she needs to show her blackness, Meghan Markle is the one keeping racism alive. What Harry says next just blows my mind.
When my kids grow up and they look back at this moment and they turn to me and say, "What did you do in this moment?" Give them an answer.
Like, I can't believe he said that with a straight face. I think about how messed up these kids are going to be when they grow up, and I truly feel sorry for them, if they truly exist. I mean, I believe Archie exists. I'm still not convinced about Lilybucks. If you think about it, Archie is going to grow up learning about his family and his wonderful, amazing grandmother in a classroom. And what's even worse about that is that you're learning about your family as an outsider, thus really emphasizing how external and not important that you are when you could have been a part of history and your mother and father chose to keep you away. Now, that has to have some sort of resentment because that will come out. The internet is forever, as much as they want to try and erase it. This is going to go down in the history books. And I don't think Harry really thought through that aspect because he's not going to go down in history being favorable or somebody who has impacted this planet and has made a difference. Not at the rate that he's trending on right now. Certainly not. In 25 years, this shit show is still going to be alive and kicking. If Diana's death and that BBC interview is still floating around, be sure that all this drama is still going to be floating around. So Archie, and if Lilybucks really exists, they will know what their parents did. And I really hope that I'm alive to see the day that Archie writes his memoir, because that's going to be the story everybody wants to read. Okay, moving on. One thing that I want to bring up is in all the footage that they keep showing of Archie, he's never playing with his sister, or Archie is alone with their parents. To me, I find that very suspicious and is why I don't believe that Lilybucks even exists. There is a rumor going around that Archie is having severe anxiety problems in his preschool, which is quite concerning considering these two have isolated themselves and most definitely isolated Archie away from the public. I do think that this child's going to have some severe developmental problems growing up. I don't believe that this child featured here is Lilybucks. I believe that that's Eugenie's child, but that's just my opinion. All the images that they show, or the very few images that they show, you can't see Lilybuck's face. And it's very deceptive. They have lied on just about everything, so it is a possibility that they're lying about Lilybucks as well. This little boy seems very sweet, and I feel so sorry for him that he has parents like this.
I gotta do it in foot, Mama, because I was with you. Oh my God.
Why is this village idiot laughing? This poor kid probably is putting the blame on his mother because he doesn't want to get in trouble for having a dirty foot. Remember, manners, manners, manners. So after they get through the montage and the voiceover of them talking about being parents and how they're changing the world to be better for them and blah, 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 Megan then starts talking about divorce and how divorce really affected her. And in the similar way, Harry talks about his, parents being divorced. And, this is why they're such an excellent match together because they understood each other. But then Megan, out of nowhere, recites this poem that she still remembers to this day she wrote in middle school. I wouldn't be surprised if she plagiarized this and pulled this from somebody else and has been reciting it and practicing for the camera. But here, take a listen.
And I remember this poem to this day, which was 2 houses, 2 homes, 2 kitchens, 2 phones, 2 couches where I lay, 2 places that I stay. Moving here and there from Monday to Friday, I'm everywhere. Don't get me wrong, it's not that bad, but oftentimes it makes me sad. I want to live that nuclear life with a happy dad and his loving wife, a picket fence, a shaggy dog, a fireplace with a burning log. But it's not real, it's just a dream. I cannot cry or even scream. So here I sit with cat number 3. Life would be easy if there were 2 of me.
I felt so inspired by this poem that I decided to write my own. Take a listen. 2 whiners, 2 brats, 2 liars, 2 rats. 2 stories they tell, 2 families in hell. Lying here and there. From Oprah to Netflix, they're everywhere. Don't believe their lies. She's really quite vicious, but oftentimes H is equally malicious. They want to live that private life with a camera following that bitch wife, a ginger prince, an anchored child, a payout that may not be wild. But it's not the truth, just obscene. The public cries and even screams. This would never have taken effect if only the Queen in church had said, I object. Thank you, thank you, thank you. After Megan's poem recital, she then goes back into lying again.
I was with my mom during the week and then with my dad on the weekends, and my dad lived alone. He had 2 adult children who had moved out of his house. Adult children who had moved out of his house.
Oh, the rapid blinking never fails.
Determined.
I'll be honest, I would have been smacked across the face if I rolled my eyes at that age at my parents.
There is like a baked in level of curiosity and opinion dealing with royals that I have not seen before.
I don't doubt that Meghan had an influx of paparazzi trying to get information on her or to get glimpses of her because nobody knew anything about her. That's the thing. She was not famous like how she's portraying or how they keep building her up to being some Hollywood actress. She was an unknown actress in Hollywood, barely scratching the surface. It is natural for the press wanting to get information because, yes, it does sell papers, but they're making it sound like she has been the only one that's ever been hounded by paparazzi. If you think about it, let's say Elon Musk starts dating somebody and she's an unknown person and, very elusive. There will be interest by the public to want to know who this woman is. And the reason why is because Elon Musk is the wealthiest man on the planet. So, of course, people are going to be curious as to what type of girl is Elon dating that he's so serious about. They're going to want to know that. That's just the nature of being a high profile celebrity. And that's what Harry really is a high profile celebrity. So all of this buildup about, oh, how awful the paparazzi are. But, think about it. They do it to other celebrities. So stop thinking that you're special, Meghan.
Well, firstly, I'm just not from Compton. I've never lived in Compton. So it's factually incorrect, but why do you have
Since when does facts matter now, Meghan?
To make a dig at Compton.
As far as a lot of the family were concerned, everything that she was being put through, they had been put through as well.
Up until this point, we're almost done with episode 2. They are still failing to show Meghan being swarmed by paparazzi. All the examples of paparazzi swarming the royals have been around Diana, Catherine, and Fergie. But when you look at these photos, this is such a joke.
And I said the difference here is the race. And
Charge it to the race card. Membership has its privileges. Has anyone thought that maybe, just maybe, some of these stories were a creation by Meghan herself to paint this narrative and picture to convince Harry and make him paranoid of her being stalked like his mother? I think so. It would not surprise me if this was orchestrated and calculated by her to put the spotlight and give her the treatment that she is asking for, which is all that priority VIP security, the jets, etc. I want to reiterate, so we keep these facts in front of us. They keep bringing up this damn article and headline where they're saying Harry's girl is straight from Compton. Why are they not acknowledging that this article came from Los Angeles? It was the writer from Los Angeles writing for the Daily Mail who published this article. This was not the result of the British being racist. Our own people here in the United States wrote this article.
It was brutal, but it was also, in some ways, unsurprising.
As I mentioned before, they brought in the pseudo-black historian, David Olasuga, who then goes into talking about the British media and how it was totally expected that the British media would be racist against Meghan Markle. And then he proceeds to talk about how monopolized the media is by white people because it's only white people that work for the British media. Yeah, more or less, that's what he said.
The British tabloid press exists both as a series of publications, but also as a mentality, and it's toxic. We have to recognize that this is a white industry.
That's racist!
Because I could just authentically be myself without so much preparedness.
Liar!
This next story, I'm willing to bet the farm that it's another lie as well.
Even when Will and Kate came over and I had met her for the first time they came over for dinner, I remember I was in ripped jeans and I was barefoot.
First, let me comment and say that this bitch is so passive-aggressive. I'm sure many of you have noticed by now that Meghan will never call Catherine or Prince William by their proper titles or by their proper names. So by saying Will and Kate, she's doing it on purpose to publicly disrespect them every time she does it. Many know that Catherine likes to be called Catherine, not Kate. Meghan has also done this with the Queen by calling her Harry's grandmother. And the only time that I can recall that Meghan has ever addressed the Queen as Her Majesty was in that clip where she was mocking the Queen by doing that ridiculous curtsy, looking like a jackass. But going back to this part where Meghan talks about meeting William and Catherine for the first time.
Even when Will and Kate came over and I had met her for the first time they came over for dinner, I remember I was in ripped jeans and I was barefoot.
Does anyone believe that the first time when Meghan met Catherine, she was wearing ripped jeans and was barefoot? I highly doubt that, considering Meghan was on her best behavior before she locked it down. More than likely, she was dressed to the nines because she needed William and Catherine to like her in order to be accepted into the family. Don't think that she was just all scrubby looking, and you know that she dressed up a little extra because she was getting to meet her real target, William. And as Meghan is a really insecure woman, I'm sure that she was talking a mile a minute, as well as name dropping, probably saying all sorts of things that she thought would impress William and Catherine. How much you want to bet that she busted out that P&G soap commercial in that conversation? I could totally see Catherine asking if she could help clear the table after dinner, and all of a sudden Meghan goes, "When I was 11 years old." So Meghan then proceeds to take her dig at Catherine and William, making them appear to be cold people.
I guess I'd started to understand very quickly that the formality on the outside carried through on the inside.
First off, Meghan doesn't understand boundaries. And secondly, If William and Catherine, let's say this really went down and went to their house and she showed up wearing ripped jeans and was barefoot while they're dressed and actually taking effort to meet with her, I would find that a bit disrespectful and insultative because you're taking your time and she couldn't even take the time to get herself ready. No, I think she's got this twisted. This is not a British thing. Americans would find this also equally weird. It just shows that Meghan didn't have class. And quite frankly, she is really embarrassing to be representing American women. So now we get into the moment where Meghan mocks and disrespects the late queen.
And I remember in the car and driving up, and he said, "You know how to curtsy, right?" And I just thought it was a joke.
And that's the look of scorn and contempt that she had to bow to somebody when she feels that she is equal and or superior.
Americans will understand this. We have medieval times, dinner and tournament.
It's astounding how ignorant this woman is. Northwestern University should be so embarrassed that this woman went to their university. I want to believe that Meghan was trying to be funny, but the way that she went about it almost came across as, by making fun of somebody and mocking someone, made it funny to her. This is textbook classic bullying 101. The whole world is familiar with this deep curtsy mocking that Meghan did in this moment. Initially, when I first watched this, before anybody gave their opinions on this particular scene, I felt my reaction was that Harry was embarrassed, not because she was mocking the queen. He was embarrassed by the over dramatization and how cheesy this was. He looks to the side at somebody off camera because she's acting like a fool, and I think it is firsthand embarrassment. That's his wife acting childish and embellishing a moment that he was there and witnessed that didn't go down like this.
Pleasure to meet you, Your Majesty.
And this is where I feel she was mocking the queen. Not so much in that curtsy. I think she was making fun of herself. I think it was here that she was mocking the queen by actually saying, Your Majesty. We all know that she thinks all these formalities are ridiculous. And I'm sure Doria didn't like that and probably whispered into Meghan's ear and was like, You gotta bow to the white man. I think it said a lot that Harry said nothing. Not so much that he just sat back and didn't say anything. I think his silence showed Meghan that he wasn't happy because you can see Meghan look at him and then she looks away and you can see a very uncomfortable face trying to play it off as if it wasn't a big deal. I'm sure they had a fight after off camera. And I think it's here where he realized that she was indeed insulting his culture and his family. And I think at that point it resonated. So after this uncomfortable moment with the royals, they then switch over and start talking about Meghan and her rise to stardom on Suits. What I find interesting is that they have not only her former agent, Nick Collins, who, by the way, was part of this whole calculated plan in the beginning with Meghan leaving, talks about her start. And then you have Silver Tree, who was one of the directors from Suits, talk about her acting abilities and how she loved being on set with a crew and that she didn't see her long term as an actress because she was such an activist. The Harkles were not kicked out of the UN for being wired and mic'd back in September 2021. So Meghan goes off on her spiel about vaccine equity when both neither Harry nor Meghan have come out to say that they actually took the vaccine. In my personal opinion, I believe that this was a push for one of their investments. I'm going to bet that these two didn't get the vaccine because they're both hypocrites. This most definitely was about money. So next up, they finally get to talking about their engagement, where the director asks, Tell me how you got engaged. And I find the reaction quite interesting from both of them because neither of them wanted to tell this story.
Oh, you're looking at me. You tell it.
So of course she makes Harry tell the story.
I did pop a bottle of champagne while she was roasting a chicken, and that kind of slightly gave the game away. She goes, You never drink champagne. What's the occasion? I was like, Oh, no, just had it lying around you, whatever.
It was a Magnum. Oh my God, Jess, it's happening. Oh my God, he told me not to peek.
So here's what I want to know. How is she recording this? But there's no indication that she is talking to a friend named Jess. Speaking of, where is Jessica Mulroney in this mockumentary? It's my opinion that this is a reenactment that Meghan is doing, because if she really did have a FaceTime with Jessica, one, why is she recording it? And two, Jessica's face would have been up there, and I highly doubt Jessica would want to be a part of this. Well, she's not a part of this, so that should explain that. This, I think, is completely staged.
Oh my God.
What position were you in?
Downward dog.
That was good. That was very clever. See, he's funny.
Of course I got down on one knee. Of course I did.
He was down on one knee, and I was just like, yes, you're so joyful and excited. It's like, oh, we're doing this.
I swear, that dog looks so miserable. I mean, no words. And of course, after the engagement's announced, we go right back into the whole race thing, entering in Meghan and Harry's friend, Misan Harriman, race baiter.
For a lot of people of color and the black community in the UK, possibly for the first time, made a lot of people feel seen.
I want to know, seen how? Because she's partially black? Let's not forget she's also partially white. So we're coming to the end of episode 2, and the way that they frame the last few segments is having this guy, David Olasuga, come back in to talk about how racist the British press is. Now, at this point in the junction of this reality show, whatever you may call it, and here's my personal opinion. I'm actually exhausted towards the end of this because it is so toxic and so negative when it comes to talking about racism, because that's what they want to beat into your head. And I find that this is not healthy for society in general, because what it's doing, it's ultimately causing divisiveness. It's ultimately fueling hatred. And, and here's my personal opinion. I am absolutely fatigued. And here's my personal opinion. I'm actually exhausted towards the end of this because it is so toxic and so negative when it comes to talking about racism, because that's what they want to beat into your head. And I find that this is not healthy for society in general, because what it's doing, it's ultimately causing divisiveness. It's ultimately fueling hatred. Harry and Meghan are just toxic.
But truth be told, no matter how hard I tried, no matter how good I was, no matter what I did, they were still going to find a way to destroy me.
Stop being so dramatic. It's evident that this is not a love story, but masking as a political thing. This woman should not be able to have any kind of additional power because she is dangerous. And that was the end to episode 2. I will be back soon with another review video, but until then, turn on your notification bell buttons. Thank you so much for watching, and I will talk to you soon. Bye!
I was such a fraud.